Damart. For the people who thought you knew us, I think you were probably thinking there was going to be some pictures there of a man in long johns or some big old lady knickers and some vests and people going, "Ooh, isn't it cold?" We've been going for about 60 years in the UK. That kind of profile and wonderful heritage of ours probably slipped away around 25 to 30 years ago. We are known now as a mature retailer. That means we target the fantastically lovely niche of the 65 plus, mainly ladies. It's a great niche to be in. We've got a fantastic growing population. Everyone's living longer. That's brilliant. They're more active. They like clothes. They like footwear. And another wonderful thing for us is not many people want to be in that market. It's not fashion, darling. It's not sexy. So lots of people tend to run away from it and leave us a very nice niche. And that's just a selection of what we look like this autumn winter. So a few more things. We turn over just over £103 million. That's from our UK business and our fledgling but fast-growing USA business that we run from the UK. Obviously, they have a fantastic demographic for us to go up to, and we're having a great time over there. Over 4 million UK customers. We wish they shopped every day, but we'll come on to that in the next slide. We're in Bingley, which is in West Yorkshire, so a nice rural place to be. And we're part of the Damart group. It's an international group. Damart really is a French brand. It was born in France in the mid-50s. So you'll find us mainly in France, Belgium, UK, and a couple of weeks ago we just bought a nice acquisition in Germany. So we turn over about 800 million euros. The Damart brand makes up about 2/3 of that, and it's very much a group which is split into two. So we have a clothing and footwear arm, and we have a homewares arm, and that's quite intentional because for those of you we're harking back to the long john, still in France and Belgium, it's quite thermal based in terms of heritage. So hence the homewares part of the group is to de-seasonalise our business quite strongly. Some of our brands you might know of, you might not know. Cooper's, based in the south of England, a value homewares brand. Made in New Jersey is a very, very lady, very expensive French brand that has small catalogue presence here. And Affibel is another senior brand. So what did we want to talk to Abacus about? So a few years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, we'd had some periods of growth, then it started to slow, and then truthfully we went into a bit of a dip. And so we got our heads together and say, right, what do we need to do? We need to really kickstart some strong growth there. We've got this amazing demographic and market, and we're just not really taking advantage of it. We had some falling response rates, some falling activation rates, and it just didn't feel right. So obviously what we needed to do, we need to get our acquisition going and we need to get our retention going. And what we asked Abacus for was, can we support our 4 recruitment campaigns a year? It's actually a few more now because they're so successful. We want some quality prospects that really do fit our brand and fit our age profile. We want a simple process. We're in Yorkshire, our systems are not great. It takes time to come up from the south. So we wanted something new and simple that would really make our business go. And we wanted easy sort of really good analysis to really inform us. Same as everybody else, those 4 million customers, again, which we wish shopped every day, they don't. So we've got fantastic retention opportunity. And truthfully, we were a bit lazy in actually doing something about that. We didn't look at it and use it properly. So it was very much how could Abacus help us, their in-house modelling, to really reactivate those customers and get them back into the brand as we were changing.
Really, thanks, Lynn. Okay, so to start customer recruitment, as Lynn said, they're a volume mailer, so they needed a volume solution. So people using our models at the moment will know a common strategy is to test models in rounds, and you gradually build a strategy testing models and segments to build the volume. That wasn't going to quite work for Damart because of the volumes they're looking to mail. So we use a fulfillment strategy that we call Abacus One. This is a unique solution to us. And we sort of flip that hierarchical strategy on its side, and we build multiple models in tandem and validate an individual based on how they score across multiple models. And this allows us to mail much deeper into our prospect universe and achieve a sort of an acceptable level of performance. So this was really key for Damart to get the volumes that they required per campaign. On top of that, we obviously hold the full Damart customer file, going back a number of years, but they're not mailing all of those customers. So actually, they're only mailing back 6 years within their buyer file and the last 12 months within their inquirer file. So standard process would be to exclude all of those customers from our models, but actually we're going to be over-excluding there. So we've capped our exclusions at 6 years for buyers and 12 months for inquirers. And if we can see some of those older customers are still actively buying in the alliance and are good prospects for Damart, if they score highly enough on our models, we can supply those back to Damart to recruit through their new recruitment channel. So once we've built our models and we've got data, we need to process that data. So we use a piece of software that Lara's already mentioned today, which is our agility software. And this allows us to process multiple data sources in multiple different formats and standardize that formats and apply common match keys. So that process for Damart looks a bit like this. So before each campaign, we receive a full extract of the Damart customer file and a file of new customer account numbers we need to apply to those prospect names. We get obviously the Epsilon Abacus data output, and then we receive all of the other external supplier files. So this can range from 5 to 15 suppliers depending on the campaign and the season. So all of that data then goes through the agility process. So we standardize the data format and we apply permanent IDs so we can see the same individual across multiple data supplies as one record. And then one of the key things for Damart was to append customer numbers on the cold records. And if you've been mailed by Damart before as a cold customer, the account number that you were given at the start stays with you. So we have to apply those existing apply the account numbers back to prospect names they've seen before. And if it's a new prospect for Damart, we give them a new customer number. We then run it through the data screening, so we drop any records that match to their 6-year buyer file or 12-month inquirer file, because obviously not all providers can provide data net of the existing Damart customer base. We run it through a hierarchical dedupe and apply source codes, which are confirmed by Damart before each campaign, and then we apply various suppressions, so that's MPS deceased and gone away suppression files. The output's checked, it's sent over to Damart, who then load it into their database to create the mailing file, and then that lands on the consumer's doorstep a few weeks later. Once we process the data, we provide processing reports to see what records have matched at individual and household level to their existing customer base, and also the volumes dropped and survived at each stage of that hierarchical dedupe process. And then post-campaign, we run full campaign analysis on all of the supplier files. We run those on a gross basis and also sort of a net basis, so looking at the hierarchical response analysis.
So one of the challenges that Lynn mentioned earlier is that they were struggling to retain and reactivate customers before they started to work with us. So we put together a solution around 3 different elements. 2 propensity models to support the customer reactivation and inquirer activation sort of activities, and that's what we call license score. We also started to supply variables that recorded the Damart customers' activity elsewhere in the Abacus Alliance, so what we call data tagging, and those are used within the models that Damart builds in-house. And we also started working with Damart on specific analysis projects which involved sort of third-party data. So just to provide a bit more detail around each element. As I said, license score, we built 2 propensity models, one for customer reactivation, and that model really is based on the customer activity with Damart, but also what the customer has done elsewhere, as I said, in the alliance. And this model is used to really identify the best opportunities for reactivation, Damart has a very large pool of inquirers, so consumers who have requested the catalog or registered their interest in some shape or form. They needed to sort of validate whether that consumer provided a sort of long-term opportunity for the business, and that's what we have a model for. These models are used alongside the models that Damart already had in-house. So they have taken what we call a sequential approach to selections. So their own models, which are built on very sort of granular product level information that is available to Damart, have the first pass at selections. And then our models, which are again a mix of the customer's activity with Damart, but also elsewhere in the alliance, are used to sort of sweep up all the opportunities for reactivation that are left behind. There is a different approach which some of our other clients use, which is the combined approach. So you sort of cross-tab the two models, so you can see simultaneously how a consumer scores, across the two, and use that information to drive the selections. The sequential approach is better if you want to continue sort of the historical series of results that you have, because your internal models don't change. You just have something else that helps underneath. While the combined approach is better if you want to start to find suppression opportunities within your existing circulation. So it really comes down to what is more important for your business. And again, just to give you a sense of what model segments and model scores look like when we supply them to Damart. You've got a table there. There's 4 customers in the table, 1 in each row. And there's 3 different model segments or scores. So the reactivation model, the cross-sell model, and the inquiry activation model. We can provide, and we do provide, I think, both scores and segments. And what's the difference between the score and the segment? Well, the score is what actually comes out of a regression model, which is a very long number, which is sort of high if you're likely to do something and low if you're unlikely to do something. That long number is a bit difficult to use, so we group it up and create segments so that you can say, okay, I want to pick everybody in segment 1. It is good to have a score as well, though appended, because sometimes you need to just select a very specific number of customers. So, for example, you've got a 200,000 target for a mailing. You have run your selections and you ended up with 186,000 customers, so you have to find exactly 14,000. So with the score, you can just rank your database, and if it's ranked in a descending sort of fashion, you can just pick the top 14,000 left, and you end up with the best sort of customers for reactivation. But looking at your faces, that's probably a little too much detail. So I'm going to move on to the next one. So the second element is data tagging. So here, instead of building a model, we are just giving you variables that show you what the customer has done elsewhere on the alliance. And for Damart, we sort of shortlisted 12 variables from the 400 plus we've got available to tag for members. Those are sort of spend on the entire alliance over 3 different time periods, but also spent in the mid-market clothing, mature clothing, and the Damart's bespoke category. What's a bespoke category? It's just a group of brands that we select using our synergy methodology to sort of recreate the category in which your customers are more likely to purchase from than the average consumer on the alliance. And that's helpful when you need to find out whether somebody is still engaged with home shopping, even if they've not purchased specifically in your product category. And these variables are used by Lynn's analysts to build some fantastic models in-house, and what they bring is really more predictive information for the model to use. So this is how the tags sort of look. Again, 4 customers there. The first one has spent £6,000 on the alliance in their lifetime, about £1,500 in the last 12 months, when they purchased 31 times, and the last of those transactions was made about 24 months ago. So that's the type of information we can append, and it's easy to see how the top customer might represent a better opportunity to reactivate than, for example, a third one down, C99999993. Where that customer only spent £20, in their lifetime, and they've not purchased for a year and a half. So that data is available to append to your database if you want it. The third and last sort of element of the solution, as I said, was the support we provided with specific analytics projects. Damart spent a lot of time, I think, over the last couple of years creating types, customer types. So we helped them to profile those using the information we have from CACI, but also, again, the purchasing behavior from the alliance. We helped Damart to measure the size of their market, but also their market share, and track it over time. And to compare their sort of seasonal sales trends to the category trends, so they could optimize the timing of their campaigns. And Mark will now talk to you about some of the improvements that have resulted from this activity.
Lovely, thank you. Yeah, so just to talk you through some of the results. So we'll start with the prospect data and the data processing. First key win was we streamlined the process. So we actually halved the lead time versus the incumbent supplier. And as all of you will know, sort of recency is key to what we do. So shorter lead time means fresher data. And also because of all the analysis that we provide, it's allowing Damart to focus on the data sources that are really driving value to the business. And if they can see data providers that are underperforming or providing very little incremental volume, they can cut those out of the plan and really focus on those suppliers that can provide volume and positive return on investment. And all of this has led to increased response rates. So autumn-winter 15 was 20% up versus budget. Summer 16 was a fantastic 47% up versus budget. And overall, they've seen 17% uplift year on year. So, cold recruitment is doing fantastically well for them at the moment. Around the customer data, the active customer, as Michele said, our data tagging product is sort of baked into their in-house models. And we can see that our variables are sort of contributing up to 10% of that score. And that's allowing them to select more responsive customers. So that's maybe customers that maybe have a lower Damart spend, but we can see are very active elsewhere in the alliance. but also customers that have been recently acquired. So there's very limited information that Damart have because it's early in their relationship with Damart, but you start to build up a picture much earlier in that relationship about what their potential value could be, because you can see what their spend is within your competitive category. And around the dormant customers, our license score model, there was a 15% uplift in response rate, which has really significantly widened the universe that they're able to mail into within their reactivation base.